All right, fine. Time to take my lumps here. Actually, I should have pulled out before I started recording. Well, that was a very disappointing finish for this game. Result for this game. Vikings lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by Baker Mayfield, 20-17. And they shouldn't have lost. It's definitely, it goes in the category of a game that was lost by the losing team more than it was won by the winning team. You know. 3-0 in the turnover margin. That's never good. I mean, whatever the numbers are for when you're 3-0 or down 3, whatever, in the turnover margin, it's never good. They just flat out gave this game away, and it's really unfortunate. Light here, because this was a game that on paper was pretty not an easy win, because there's never an easy win, and Tampa Bay still has a lot of the guys on defense, particularly, that helped carry the Golden Boy to a title a couple years ago. But you needed to win this game. This was a very important game to win. You had to pocket this win because you got to go now on a short week into Philly and play the Eagles. Not impossible, but it's damn sure not going to be easy. I think most everybody was looking at this and thinking, okay, we'll beat Tampa and probably lose to the Eagles and go from there. But yeah, this was bad. It was just the first half was just a mess. Kind of, it was just like they looked like a team that where really none of the starters had played in the preseason, and they hadn't played in the preseason. They just had the joint practices, but nothing was really working right. It was just kind of just a messy situation. They weren't running the ball. Now, you gotta bring up at the top that I think it was the second series of the game, they lose Bradbury to a back injury, and he didn't come back. And obviously, now short week, you have to assume he's out for 2 games, or out for the one more game. And then, like, immediately after that happened, we have the fumbled snap. From my vantage point, it looked like it's just a bad exchange. I guess Ed Ingram maybe backed into Kirk and knocked it out of his hand. But either way, that happened right after Bradbury went out, and then Darisaw was out for a while. I think he came back in at some point. I think he was out, and then he came back in, and then he was out again. But him too, you got to think, well, he's probably not going to be out there for the Philly game. So, watch for traffic here. But so right off the bat, first half, first quarter in case of Bradbury, but first half of the first game of the season, and you'll lose 40% of your offensive line. And like that fucking sucks. That's really, really unfortunate, because the offensive line can't afford to lose what they have to begin with, because what they have to begin with is not necessarily very good. Ed Ingram, and I was holding out. I'm holding. I mean, I guess I have to still hold out some hope that it is just one game. Hold out some hope that Ed Ingram can have some year 2 improvement, but boy, he was bad today. Every single time, it looked like that Kirk was getting like really hassled. You watch the replay on the screen, and it looks like it's Ingram's guy. Like it's just it's really rough with him, and Kirk must be made of iron, because he, like we all saw on the Netflix show, that the hits he takes and the beating that he took last year, and he took as big a beating this game as probably any game last year. You know, there was one where he ran, or maybe it was a sack, or maybe he ran, and he just got driven into the ground. And like, how does he get back up? And it affects him. Like, he wasn't. This wasn't like, you know, this wasn't a great Kirk game. It wasn't a terrible Kirk game. But even with everything that was going on at halftime, he had, I think, 273 yards. It was unbelievable. But you know, you had the turnover. You know, you had the fumbled snap, or maybe the snap was good and then it was knocked out. And you had another one where a guy just came on the blindside blitz. Kirk had no fucking shot. Just absolutely killed him. Dropped the ball. That's where Tampa got the field goal. And then the pick at the end of the first half. You know, I think the pass was a little behind Osborne, but it's on. Like, we had this problem with Osborne last year. I think there was a play very similar to this. I forget which game, where it was right at the goal line. Or it might have even been the year, might not even been last year, might have even been the year before. And there was a play just like that where it's like a slant at the goal line, and he gets the ball in his hands and he doesn't bring it in. Like, this was a very disappointing game for Osborne, who I think is going to be supplanted as the number 2 guy very, very soon. And obviously, like, the 2 turnovers that were in Bucs territory, deep in Bucs territory, that, I mean, minimum, you lost out on 6 points there. Minimum. And it's the game you lost by 3. I mean, that, you flip those 2, and you can't. I mean, every game, every time there's a turnover, you're like, well, if we just flip that around, well, you can't. Like, and we didn't get any. And I didn't even think we came close. The thing in the first half, I was loving what I was seeing with the defense. I was ecstatic. Even as the offense was struggling, I'm ecstatic watching the defense. They're flying around. They've actually got, you know, even when they're, you know, completing a pass, we've got guys right there. Like, they're flying around. We whiffed on a couple of sacks, which could have been really important. Like, and yeah, kind of late in the first half they beat us on the deep shot. But again, I'm not expecting this to be the 2000 Ravens. Like, it could have been, you know, that's one of the weirdest things that I think about this. That could have been the story of the game if we just kind of support. This was definitely a game where much of the way I thought the offense was not supporting the defense, which, good Lord, I don't think that's been a feeling that I've had watching Vikings football much in recent years. But yeah, we go in 10-10 at the half, and it's like, it's the classic thing of, well, we've really outplayed them and it's only 10-10, and that usually comes back to bite a team, and it did. You know, then in the second half, they figured some stuff out on our defense. They were throwing outside a lot, and we, you know, just picking us apart a little bit. You know, I mean, it wasn't awful. I mean, they got 10 points in the half. They got 10 points in both halves. But the second half, I thought, was much worse. You know, we couldn't get them off the damn field. There were so many, like, third downs, and then even a fourth down, and then a real dagger. You know, they drop I think it was Evans drops a wide open touchdown pass. We hold them then after that to a field goal try, and there were offsides on the field goal. I think it was Jay Ward was offsides on the field goal, and then they get a touchdown a couple plays later, and even that was on a third down. Like, maybe we'll stop them and still just all will be as no harm, no foul. But that was another just a dagger play, and even I think on the one in the first half where they scored the touchdown, there was a big offsides there that gave them a 3rd and short. It's frustrating when they get these, you know, they get those short yardage ones, and then it's like, you can't get off the field. I mean, the time of possession in the second half was unbelievable. They had to have had the ball for about 20 minutes. I mean, they took the first possession of the third quarter. They had it for, I think, over 9 minutes. It just, like, we couldn't get them off. We could not get them off the fucking field. It just couldn't happen. And it's not like they were making great plays. I don't think anybody on Tampa had, like, a big day statistically. We just couldn't get them off the field. Like, it was just, they're getting these little 5-6 yard things all the time, and, you know, it doesn't matter if it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6. They're getting them every fucking time, And they actually went for the 1 4th down sneak, in their own end, which was a little risky, but even there we couldn't stop them. If we had them on a 4th and 2, they probably aren't trying to go for that in that spot, but it's frustrating. I think overall you have to feel a little bit of optimism with the defense just because they were a competitive unit. Last year they weren't even competitive for half these fucking games. Oh god. Oh, that's a loud vehicle. Okay, but last year, in the playoff game, they were not competitive. In so many games last year, they were just not competitive. They were at least competitive in this game. And obviously, I'm sure there's a fatigue factor because it's the first time you've played a real game in the whole season, and I'm sure there was a fatigue issue there as it got later in the game. But it was like when they that last drive, like we're still thinking, well, maybe we can get the ball back one more time, but we couldn't get the ball back one more time because we give up these short yardage conversions, and then we have them at a 3rd and 10. Now you really think, like, yeah, at that point you didn't have any timeouts. It was past the 2-minute warning, but just like, well, if we stop them here, we still will have a chance, and we only need a field goal, and we give up like a fucking sideline completion, and that's the game. It's like, not out on Brian Flores by any means. I think, again, I went into this whole season thinking, let's just be competitive. Let's be competitive on defense, and the offense will lead. The offense did not lead today. I'm not absolving Kirk Cousins of any blame. I don't think that there were a couple of throws that were pretty weak. There were 1 or 2 times where he probably stood in the pocket too long. But even like the pick at the goal line. It's like if he played conservative there and just take the field, then everyone's yelling at you for not trying to take a shot at the end zone. Well, he took a shot at the end zone and he put it on a guy's hand, even if it wasn't a 100% perfect throw, and it got picked. And then Jefferson made an incredibly violent tackle to stop the return. It's just, I'm sure, and I'm already seeing it. It's the same fucking refrain. I feel like I've made the same goddamn video, 100 times the last 5. I haven't been making videos for 5 years, but the time that I have been making videos, it's everything. Vikings lost. Well, let's tally up why Kirk Cousins is to blame. And I don't think this was a great Kirk game. I don't like the design of a lot of these plays. We ran so many of these fucking slow developing, like, short passes to the sidelines. It's like, even if a guy is completely wide open, the guy's going to be able to close fast enough, and it's not going to turn into anything. We ran some of these terrible, like, tight end screens to Hawkinson. I think Hawkinson had 2 or 3 catches where he lost yardage today. Like, they're just these nothing plays, and I know, I've made this point many times. That, like, people were like, "Why aren't you throwing the ball down the field?" Well, you need time to develop. you need time in the pocket to be able to let guys get downfield. And there were a few plays today where Kirk was throwing darts. The Jordan Addison touchdown was beautiful. And there was one, I think it was earlier on that drive, where he threw a dart to JJ, and it was fantastic. Like, he's still out there throwing darts, even though he's got 40% of his starting offensive line sitting on the sidelines hurt, and his right guard is still terrible apparently. It's frustrating stuff because this was a game that, like, if we had ended up winning, it would have been like, okay, an ugly win, but so what? I'll take an ugly win any day of the week. But and JJ was big, but again, they were throwing a lot to Osborne. I don't know, and I know it's like JJ's always probably getting double covered all the time, and they did throw to him a couple times where he was kind of double covered and didn't work out, but I did not think this was a stellar game from Kevin O'Connell, in whether it was just play design or play calling. Alexander Madison had a bad game. I mean, this was his shot. This was his first game as the undisputed RB1, and boy, he was bad. He had like 2 good runs, and he did break a couple tackles on that touchdown he got. But boy, he was just, it's the same kind of stuff we've seen a lot of. We've seen a lot of from Madison at times in his career. He seems to run into contact, like he was running into his own lineman a couple times. Like we need more than that. Like Chandler got out there a couple times, but we need a lot more from the running game, because I don't know what Madison ended up with. I think he had like 30-something yards. Like, that's just not... You need more than that. We don't, even if the passing game is going to be the lead thing, you need to have some amount of running game going on. It's just, and that also contributes then to the pass protection, because you can't run the ball. They don't have to respect the run, so they can just send everybody after Kirk. And if you got Schlottman and Oliudo in there as backup linemen, and Ed Ingram seemingly trying to get your quarterback killed, well, what the hell's going to happen? It's not going to be good. And I don't think it's going to be good in Philly. I think we're staring at 0-2, and it sucks. Crazy things can happen. I mean, the Bengals got 3 points today. But it's going to be incredibly tough to win that game in Philadelphia, especially when you have to assume that we're going to be without those same 2 linemen again. And maybe we'll get Davenport back. He didn't play today, but I don't think that makes the difference. That's not going to help the offense. I think we're staring at 0-2, and it doesn't mean it's over. I mean, naturally, there's a bunch of Vikings fans who are like elated because we lost, because they want the Vikings to lose, because they want to tank or whatever, or they just genuinely never want the Vikings to win because they just prefer to be miserable. You can still dig out of an 0-2. Lots of teams have made the playoffs at 0-2. There's always some teams that do it. But you kicked away, on paper, one of the easiest games on your schedule. And they might be paying for that the whole season. I mean, this was a rough week 1, to be sure. But I don't know what's left to talk about. I talked about the defense, talked about the offense, talked about some of the coaching problems. I think you can definitely have optimism regarding the defense, just because we saw, and they were that close on a few sacks. We couldn't wrap up on them, but this defense had a good start and should improve as time goes on. The offense should improve too. I mean, there's no reason to think the offense is going to be terrible, but if you are missing offensive linemen, when that's already a weakness, that's not going to help by any means. And it sucks, because a lot of optimism, and I always lean optimistic, and I still think this team can have a good season. It's not like, I think giving up after 1 week is as stupid as if, say, they had blown out Tampa and I came on here saying, oh my God, they're going to the Super Bowl. I think that would be a silly overreaction too. But there's no sugarcoating this one, even though, close wins didn't matter last year, so should close losses matter this year? I don't know. And we did lose a 1-score game, but there's no sugarcoating this. This was a bad loss. It was a very bad way to start the season. To lose a game, to lose one of the easier games on paper on your schedule, and they're gonna have to rebound. And I don't know that they can rebound in 4 days in Philly, but starting with the Chargers at home 2 weeks from today, they're gonna have to rebound, and I think they can, and I think they will, but. Because even last year they didn't hit their stride until, a few weeks into the season. I mean, they had the big blowout win against the Packers in week 1, but that wasn't like they weren't great in that game, like on offense. You know, you can still call yield. You know, their offense didn't really start to click in right away. But you know, this again, it's a bad loss. Not jumping off the ledge. You know, we'll let the others. You know, we got to take our lumps. You know, from the Lions fans, the cocky Lions fans who've been flooding my one of my previous videos with a bunch of shit talking. And well, we got Packers and Bears are playing right now, so someone else is going to be 1-0, and someone else is going to join us at 0-1 in the cellar. But look, it's a long season. It's longer than it's ever been now with 17 games. This team will improve on offense. Injuries, you know, that you can't plan for injuries, but I think, you know, we've seen what this offense can do. We've seen what this quarterback can do. We've seen what this receiver can do. And he had over 100 yards again today. But yeah, I'm just about home, so I'm just gonna stop talking. So bad loss, bad start to the season. But we've had worse starts to the season than this and had playoff teams. So we're not giving up yet. But you know, they have to be better, and KOC is going to be the first one saying that they have to be better. And hopefully they can be better in Philly and at least make that a game. But beyond that, you know, don't give up hope yet, just because of a loss. Because this team can bounce back, and I think they will bounce back. And I've kind of just started to just repeat myself. Sucks to lose, but you know, there's always the next game.